How you doing?
Doing good. Am I all good? Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly. Love the stash.
Dude, it's the quarantine stash we got going here.
I hear you, man. I started growing the beard out for it.
Yeah, this is my first attempt at fake hair. I'm not gonna lie, it's not like that great. But it's coming.
What's the response you've been getting?
See, we started doing it because like my two teammates that I've been doing some quarantine with, we were talking about and we just thought it would be hilarious. So, some laughs. Some people don't even notice it, which is, even more painful than the laugh, I think. So, but overall, I think I might be keeping it. I don't know. Maybe it's the look.
I think the biggest compliment you can grow when growing a mustache is people saying how dirty and gross it is, because that means it's fully there,
See, that's what I want. I need it fully there. Maybe after a few months, because I grow facial hair real weak.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Footy and Coffee Conversations. Got a guest here finally on the same time zone as me, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
If you want to just start by saying your name, what club you play for, and position.
Yeah, so I'm Jacob Bushue. I'm 27 years old, and I play for FC Haka in Finland. I'm a number 8 or a number 6, sometimes pop up to number 10 every now and then. So, yeah, just whatever midfield.
Somewhere in the midfield.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so to just get started, talk briefly about your youth career, where you grew up, kind of the process of playing as a young player. Were you thinking professional at that point, and kind of that sort of going into that?
Yeah, so I'm from Champaign, Illinois, which for people not familiar with like the Illinois area, it's like 2.5 hours south of Chicago. So I grew up playing for my hometown club till I was about 13, maybe 14. 13, 14. And I started playing up for the Chicago Magic, which, 2.5 hours to drive up to practice, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, parents were just epic, basically.
Shout out to the parents for driving.
Crazy, yeah. It's just wild. So then I played Chicago Magic from when I was in 8th grade till junior in high school, club, all that stuff, and then academy was sophomore, junior year. Through that whole process, like all the college recruiting, all that kind of stuff, I ended up picking Indiana University, I think around like April or May of my junior year. And then I just I was just thinking of ways to separate myself from other people. And I had heard of people going early in other sports, like in football, going in the spring semester. So I was like, screw it, let's do this. Maybe I'll get an upper edge on some of the people that are coming with me, because my class was very good.
Yeah.
So I graduated early, and I went to Indiana when I was 17.
Now, when you entered high school, were you thinking at all of graduating early, or did that kind of just come about junior year?
Yeah, that came about junior year. So it was just like I was talking to my brother, basically. So it was like I committed to Indiana, and maybe this was in the summer, something like that. And I'm just talking to my brother, and he's like, "Dude, you should go a semester early." And I was like, "What? You can even do that?" And he was like, "Yeah, just go ask your counselor." And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, screw it." So I went and asked him, and all I had to do was take 2 English classes instead of the 1. Basically, that's all I had to do. And then I went a semester early, and it worked out really well.
Yeah. Before we get into the college stuff, you mentioned your brother. In high school, you had the privilege of playing under him.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Yeah, that was awesome. Like it was a really cool experience, because he's 10 years older than me. So yeah, it's like it's a little different, because he's so much older than me. So it's not like such a close rivalry. So like it's like half brother, but half like almost like a parental figure to an extent, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, and he was living with me, or he was living with the family at the time. So, I was 14, 15, he's doing the coaching, And he was really good at separating, you know, myself as a person and as a player. So like there wasn't any, like he would scream at me all the time in practice and stuff like that if I was being lazy or some shit like that. So yeah, it was a good experience though. I loved it. And then it was the best our team, my high school has ever done. We made it to the quarterfinals of state. We lost to not Nutria. We're Gall Duty, Nequa Valley.
Oh, Nequa Valley.
Lost to Nequa Valley.
So many good players at that school.
So many. It was crazy how many good players they've had. They had like academy players coming off the bench and stuff my senior year.
Oh wow. But you had a lot of success your senior year. Was it 24 goals and 12 assists? So not a bad.
Yeah.
A bad little senior year.
Yeah. Got thrown up top. That was that was an interesting one because I got mono all summer, so I missed the first 3 games of the year and then was just getting fit and all that stuff. But then by mid season of that, I started getting on a roll. I was killing it up there.
Now you come from a family obviously of a big soccer background. Your brother and sister both were good players. I think I saw you and your sister were the first time that siblings won like the player of the year or whatever.
Yeah.
So, what was that like? Because obviously you had your brother as a coach, but do you think it helped you in your career, kind of having role models to look up to at a young age that had already done it before you?
Yeah, for sure. Like my sister was such a baller. Like I think she had 130 goals in high school or something stupid like that. So it was always like, and she was 7 years older than me. My brother's 10 years older than me. So, and my brother had a really successful high school and his club team was also really good. So I'm always looking up to that basically. And I would go and play with them in the backyard and they would just straight up no mercy. They would just beat my ass all the time. Kill me. So it helped a lot just watching them and seeing how they did things. But then it was also nice because it was kind of, you know, they had seen some stuff and they could give me some advice on, you know, some different choices to make and things like that to help my career go. So it was definitely beneficial to have them. Yeah.
So then you get to Indiana. I want to know how that's like going in kind of by yourself then. If you're going in January, you're not with your freshman class in the sense of, you know, figuring it out together in a group of people kind of, you know, that you can kind of bond with right off the bat. You come in just kind of as the lone soldier. What's that like that first semester?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I never really thought about it that way. I don't know. I was just really excited just to get there and get going. It's such a good program and all that stuff. And I love the coach, Todd. Yeah, and a big thing for me was, you know, because I live so far away from the Chicago Magic, it was basically, you know, I could only go up to the team training on Thursdays and then games on the weekends, things like that. So then when I went to Indiana, now I could train every single day. So now I was just so pumped about that. So I wasn't really too focused on not being with people in my class or anything like that. It was more of just, I was focused at the task at hand and just improving then and trying to earn a spot.
Yeah. For people who don't know, Indiana is kind of legendary for its success as a program. Obviously, it's a place I think a lot of players, even ones that we've interviewed, have said that was kind of their dream school to go to. What's it like signing for or committing to such a historic program?
Yeah, signing in, that was really cool. It was kind of always, you know, I was always thinking that I would end up going to a pretty well-known university, a pretty big program. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to compete for national championships. I didn't want to just go to university, basically. I thought very highly of myself coming out of high school and all those things. I thought I deserved to be at a program like that. So when I finally signed at Indiana, though, and, you know, when I initially signed there, it was Mike Freitag was going to be the coach, but he got fired in that fall, and Todd Yeagley came in. He was at Wisconsin. I loved him. I almost went to Wisconsin because of him. So then being able to be coached by Todd and also go to Indiana was just such a blessing. It was such a great experience. And I really can't put into words how much that program's done for me over my career, not just in the 4 years I was there, but since then, how big time they've been.
Yeah, it seems like you guys have a good, strong brotherhood that stayed connected even when you leave and graduate and go on wherever.
Yeah, and it's even like if you went to Indiana, like the people older than you, like if they played soccer and all that kind of stuff, players older than you, they have respect for you. You have respect for them. The players younger as well, and you're always cheering for them. So it really is a brotherhood, and it is a family at Indiana, and great university.
Yeah. So you come in semester early, you kind of then have the ropes a little bit figured out of what the team's like, training, that sort of thing. Talk to us, I guess, your freshman year, first kind of games. Are you playing a lot? Are you starting? You know, what's that like? Because obviously I think that's an interesting transition for most players, because most players going to university were the best of whatever program they were at. And so it's a different dynamic to now come in and be, you know, the freshman again and have to earn your stripes.
Yeah, so it was like I would say both that first semester I was there and that fall semester were pretty similar on how it went. I came in, I wasn't I guess you would say like a starter, like in permanent marker. It was like sometimes not, but I was always playing. So, you know, I was basically coming in and I was playing any role that they would put me in at the very beginning. Is, you know, sometimes I play outside midfield, sometimes I play outside back, both right and left. Sometimes I would come in at center midfield. I think it was maybe after.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it was maybe after, I would say 6 games, something like that. Then it was like I was pretty much the starting center midfielder with another freshman, Harrison Petts, for the rest of the season. And, you know, it was a good season for me, you know, personally, but also, you know, as a team, it was good, but it wasn't like back to what Indiana University was for a little bit. Like we won the Big Ten championship, but it was still like there was still so much for that group to do, basically. But I was fortunate that the coach, like Todd, really liked me. And I was fortunate that he really respected the way I played, and he kind of gave me a chance and put me in, and from pretty much the start.
Yeah. So obviously you had a lot of success yourself. The program had a lot of success. But how do you think you kind of separated yourself from maybe, you know, other guys on the team that haven't been able to make it as successful? What separated you and maybe a few of the other guys from your team to have the success you did, you know, further on in your career?
So when you're asking this, are you saying like what like my success professionally, or are you saying like within college?
Within college, like what did you do differently than maybe some of the other guys on the team that separated you?
Gotcha. I think it's just kind of been the way I go about. I've always gone about things in training, and still do to this day. It's like I don't have like it's like the same intensity if it's a game or if it's practice. Like I'll like so it's some of my teammates like it, and sometimes it's not the best for them because sometimes I'll crack them. But you know, like the intensity in practice that I would bring every single day, no matter what, I think was kind of what separated me from a lot of my teammates, and it was a unique energy, and it's like a unique way of playing, and I'll do things that other people aren't willing to do, basically. And it's not that, and a lot of the things that I do well are things that anybody can do, but they just won't, essentially. So that's kind of where I've made my niche through my college and professional career, and it's just doing stuff that other people won't, essentially.
Which, now as a coach myself, that is the most desirable player you can have, because you can always find guys that want to do the fun stuff on the field. So being willing to essentially sacrifice maybe some of the glory aspects and do the dirty work is a very important and needed position. So that's good for you. Real quick, on a side note, my first time at Indiana was for a little 5. So that was a different experience, I think. Maybe
Little 5 is the Little Five's the best, man. That's such a fun week. We never got to like, you don't get to fully experience it because, you still have the spring season, but you still get to do it a little bit, and it's awesome, man.
Yeah, after that, I was like, how do they ever win national championships? It's this sort of thing.
Yeah, it's definitely some temptations there.
Yeah, so 2012, you win the national championship. Talk just about that experience, what that was like.
Yeah, so it was obviously amazing. So it was a pretty interesting season because we were very good. Like we were a top 10 team pretty much the whole season. Like we were good, but we weren't like unbelievable essentially. And then with 2 games left in the regular season, I go down and I tear my meniscus and my MCL.
Oh.
So yeah, it was weird. It was like I was just jogging back on a goal kick. It was a strange play. So, I couldn't obviously finish out that game. And then there was 1 game left in the Big Ten. Couldn't play in that. And the trainers were essentially like, dude, you're done. Like, you can't. Like, I couldn't really jog. I was walking around all funny and all that stuff. So I'm just so bummed out. And I remember we went bowling and that weekend, and like, so the one that I tore was my left. So like if you've ever been bowling, like if you're right-handed, you land on your left leg. But I was landing on my other one. But there was one time I forgot to do it, and I put all this weight on my left leg, and I heard this huge huge ass pop. And I was like, what happened there? Like that can't be good, all this stuff. But then I show up to training the next day, and my trainer's like, hey, do you want to try jogging? And I'm like, yeah, I guess. And all of a sudden this like hitch is out of my knee. And like, so I'm jogging and I go back and he's like, how did that feel? I'm like, well, it didn't feel good at all, but I could move basically. I could move. So he was like, okay, well, we'll take it day by day basically. And then slowly I started being able to like run and sprint and those things. And then we had like a Big Ten semifinal game or something like that. And they put me in for like 15 minutes. Just see how my knee would do. And, I did fine. We end up losing. So now we're on like a 4-game losing streak, something like that. And our team is just in a straight meltdown mode, essentially. But we go luckily we get a seed in the tournament still. Like we get the 16 seed. So we get that first round bye, which was huge for us. So then we come in and I'm operating at 70-80%, but I'm like, I got to suck it up. I got to go. Like, got to do it.
Yeah.
So we got hot, man. And it was like, we kind of had some like weird team dysfunction almost. Like some of the teammates didn't get along, all these things, but then everything just seemed to just like click at the right time, which is the benefit to American sports a lot of the times. So, we get on the roll and it's just bang, 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 bang. And it's just like we couldn't get scored on. All these things. I was playing out of position. I was playing attacking midfielder, like underneath the forward, basically just zapping up all the energy I could and just trying to be a nuisance, essentially. We end up winning the national championship, and it was just such a crazy feeling because it was something that it had been like a 3-4 year goal of mine. It was just like it finally happened. It was so amazing.
Yeah. So at that point, are you thinking professional soccer is next?
Yeah, I had been thinking I wanted to play professionally for, since I was 9. Like, yeah. It's what I've always wanted to do. It's all I've ever thought about, basically. So, at this point, when I win the national championship, then it was like, things are looking good. I've been starting now for 3 years. Now I just need to have a good senior year, basically, and things will be good.
So then talk about how that happens. Are you looking MLS draft at that point?
Yeah. So at that point, I'm really thinking, started talking to the agent I ended up signing with, all these things. I'm thinking the MLS draft is like, essentially like, it's going to happen. Basically is the way I was viewing it, which, we can touch on that as well, which has like been one of the biggest mistakes in my career, is how I think I handled winning the national championship, and then how things went into that senior season. And kind of, you know, the senior year, I'm not sure if you know about this, but basically it was like the worst year that Indiana's ever had since the first year was my senior year. And it was crazy because it was, you know, we won the national championship and we were returning like 8 starters, and we were adding, you know, Tommy Thompson, Tanner Thompson, and Dylan Mayers, all like were new players. So like we were so loaded.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
It was crazy.
Yeah, you were stacked.
Yeah. But we ended up having this like horrific season. You know, I think we lost like 6-7 games in overtime, like crap like that. Yeah. But, you know, but it wasn't like, I've actually gone back and looked at games like this year even. You know, we would do good and like unlucky things would happen, but at the same time it was stupid mistakes that we were making, you know, stuff like that. So, but that year, like it was the first time I had ever been in a losing situation, basically. I didn't handle it mentally well. The team didn't handle it mentally well. You know, it was something that I let that affect me for a long time, way longer than I should have. And then that leads, you know, I will say this about that team, which people don't talk about, though, is that we had to win the Big Ten tournament to make the NCAA tournament, which was Indiana had never not been in the NCAA tournament. Yeah. And I think a lot of teams would have folded up and not got the job done. But I mean, we won the Big Ten tournament, and that showed a lot of balls from a lot of our team, from my team.
Also, tell us how good your program is if the worst year is winning the Big Ten tournament and still getting to the nationals.
Yeah. That's very true. That's very true. But yeah, so then right after that, then it's now I get invited to the MLS Combine, which is, I think it was 48 players, something like that, 40 players. And I get invited to that, which, you know, it was another sign where I was like, okay, things are still on the trajectory. Like, things will still be okay. I go to the Combine, everything's pretty much fine. They played me out of position. I played left back the whole time, which wasn't ideal, but, you know, it is what it is. My agent is still telling me, you know, hey, don't worry about it. Like, you're going to be first or second round pick in the draft. Like, you'll be straight. I had other people telling me, like, hey, you're going to be good. I show up back to IU for the draft day, and, you know, I'm like dressed like kind of nice, kind of snazzy, ready to roll. Day goes, nothing. Don't get drafted. So, you know, that's already like, I already look like a jackass. Like, I'm so embarrassed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, you know, go through the weekend. And then it was like the 3rd and 4th round. So the supplemental draft was on like Tuesday or something like that. And I remember I had to drive back home. So I was back home in Champaign. I'm sitting in my basement, like watching this thing. You're just watching on the ticker. And I'm going by. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Wasn't seeing my name. And it goes through, and I went through the whole thing. Didn't even get drafted. So now I'm like, what is this? Like, what is going on? And so then it was just like, okay, well, no issue. You know, it sucks. It hurts. You know, I felt bad. I felt like I was letting so many people down. I felt like I was letting myself down. It was such a low point. And then I was like, well, it's okay. I'll go to the USL. Maybe an MLS team will bring me in. If not, I'll go over to Sweden, Finland, you know, just go another route. Mm-hmm. But the problem was I hired like a pretty big agent because, you know, I was thinking I was going to go in the 1st or 2nd round. So now all of a sudden this agent basically just starts screwing me off. He's like, won't return my calls, won't return my texts, all this crap. Yeah, it was bad. So now I'm back. But I got back. I went back to IU, and they were letting me train there, which was, you know, incredible. So I'm back there training, and, you know, I'm sleeping on my old teammate's couch, basically, and just waiting for calls. And, you know, they just weren't coming. They weren't coming. All these people are, you know, getting trials that I've heard of, and that I viewed myself as better players than, but you know, I wasn't getting looks anywhere.
Yeah.
So then it hits like April or May, and now I'm like this is crazy. Like, what am I gonna do? So, you know, I'm still, and now at this point, I'm like, essentially, I'm living out of my car. Like, all my stuff is in my car. I'm sleeping on my friend's couch. And then I was like, well, I just gotta suck it. I gotta figure out a way to make money. I gotta do something. Like, I'm not gonna give up, but maybe it's just not in the cards this time for whatever reason. So I end up, you know, I had been coaching since I was like 18, 19 years old. But now I was like, okay, so I contacted the club. They set me up with, so I could coach their 13, 14-year-old team basically.
Okay.
Make some money that way. And then I was just training at IU at at their fields and things like that on my own, and just trying to stay as sharp as possible for whenever something can pop up. And then, you know, it hit June or July maybe, and St. Louis FC was going to be a new team. It was going to be a new team in the USL, and they said I could come into their tryout in October. So then it was just all eyes there. Like, boom, okay, fine. I finally have something to look forward to at least. Like, I'll just boom, boom, boom. I'm going to train.
Yeah, something.
Yeah, exactly. So I end up, you know, going to the trial in St. Louis, and I do well, and I get offered a contract, and, you know, from there, then the professional career gets going.
Yeah, so you play there for 2 seasons?
Mm-hmm.
What's that like? They obviously have a big fan base. What's your experience playing in St. Louis?
Yeah, St. Louis was awesome. Like, it was really cool. The first season went very well for me. Like, it was pretty similar to my first years at Indiana as well, where like I was coming in, I was a utility player basically. They would just throw me in somewhere, getting playing time, and then eventually I earned a spot playing center midfield. So the first season went well for me personally. I was playing pretty well. The fans were great, and all that, and it was really nice too because, you know, Scott Gallagher was the youth program, so I got to do a lot of coaching as well. So it was a good experience. Second year was a bit different for me. Second year I went in and I got into like crazy shape in the off season. I was just on fire. Like, I was feeling so good, and I came in, I was balling out in the preseason. And then, you know, I didn't see eye to eye with the coach on this one, but I wasn't getting as much playing time. I wasn't starting the games I thought I was. You know, again, I've looked back on a lot, and I think the way I handled it wasn't the best. You know, I think I let that get to my head so much, and I was letting myself get down on these things that I couldn't control. And I was still playing a lot. Like, I was getting used as a utility player. You know, it's hard to hold down a spot when you're playing. I played 7 positions there. You know, I would get subbed. There was 4 different games where I got subbed into a game and played 3 different positions.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was tough.
Unreal.
But, you know, I think I could have handled the situation better. I think if I know now what I knew, if I knew then what I knew now, there you go. I think things may have turned out differently in that season, but you know, I think I learned a lot, and I wouldn't be where I am right now without what I learned in that season.
Yeah, unfortunately, adversity is often the greatest teacher. So
it's very true, and I mean, but that's where it's been like that always, and I think it's just like the key is being aware of it and being aware, looking back on yourself and being like, okay, I screwed up here. Now we're just going to fix these things.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we're getting to my favorite part of the story. Finally, get over to a great country that I love.
Love it.
You end up coming to Finland, and I think not to spoil anything of what's coming next, but I think you have like the ultimate foreign player's dream come true throughout your story in this country.
Yeah, it's getting there.
It's getting there.
Like, I wouldn't. It's not done
We got
yet.
one thing left, right?
I got a few things left, I think.
But so just talk about how you ended up in Finland. Were you thinking about playing for another club in the U.S.? Kind of what was your thought process?
So now it's the end of my second year in St. Louis, and I had just torn my meniscus. That was a whole situation. So, but I knew I didn't want to go back to St. Louis. I needed to just go somewhere else. I needed to go somewhere where they could see me as the player I thought I was, basically, and play me in the position I wanted. So I'm like, okay, we're just gonna go different ways. I ended up hiring Emil, who obviously you're familiar with, a lot of people are familiar with, because I knew he could get players over to Scandinavia. Sorry. So, hire him, and what is it going down to? April. I'm still not hearing anything. Like, so I'm back at Indiana training again. So again, like, great university, like, unreal people. I was having a tough time. I tore my meniscus. I needed someone to rehab. The trainer was letting me rehab. I was dating his daughter at the time, so that probably helped a little bit. So I'm actually staying at their place, and I'm just training because I think it's just going to be, I just got to figure something out, get a trial somewhere over in Scandinavia, and then I'm just roll.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking that's going to happen in January, February, basically. So, I'm just sitting there training, doing anything that can I stay in shape, all those things, and I just keep getting phone calls, and it's like, yeah, this team's thinking about bringing you in. And I'm like, fantastic. So then 2 days go by, 3 days go by. Nah, they're not bringing you in. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, it's like this whole thing again. So it keeps going, and it's just like everything. Like, it's like fourth tier teams in Sweden. It's third tier teams in Finland. It's like all these teams are just saying no, basically. And I couldn't wrap my head around it.
Yeah.
I'm like, is this again? Like, this is nuts. I could not understand it. And I remember, like, there was a day where I was waiting on two teams in Finland that were in I think they were both in the third tier. One might have even been in the fourth tier. And I'm sitting in my girlfriend's basement, and Emil called me, and it's like, it's March, it's late March. Like, things are sketchy at this point.
Yeah.
And he called me and he said, no, dude. And I remember just absolutely just like losing it, like, crying my eyes out. Like, I couldn't believe this was happening again. Like, all of, like, straight PTSD stuff, like, from what I went through. It was nuts. So then, it was just like, okay, well, you just got to stay sharp. Something might happen. Something might happen. So then, another week or two goes by. Me and my girlfriend break up. So now...
So now you're kicked out. No more training in Indiana.
Exactly. Now I'm kicked out. So now I have to go back home, and my mom's like, yo, what are you going to do? And I'm like, dude, I don't... Like, we'll figure it out, I guess. And, maybe a week goes by, and finally Emil's like, okay, I got a team in Sweden in the fourth tier, Nordvarmlands. They'll bring you in. So, like,
shout out.
So I'm like, all right, screw it. I did not even look where this place was. I was like, screw it, let's go. Boom, book the tickets. Let's get out of here. So, I get there. Luckily, Kaz was there. So I had people to talk to and all that stuff. So I'm there for a week and play my test game. Things go fine, get offered a contract, and I call Emil, and I'm like, yo, I finally got a contract, let's do this. And he's like, hey, before you do that, a team in Finland in the third tier will bring you there, which then is professional, so you could get a work permit. Because it's a big deal.
It's dicey in Sweden.
Very, very dicey. People get sent home, yeah. So I'm like, okay, I got to do it. So I pack my bags, take my flight over to Finland, I always packed everything with me. I was never expecting to go home. But now at this point, dude, I got like $100 left in the bank account at most. Like I'm struggling. This has to be it, basically. And I show up. It's a small town, BK46. You're familiar with them.
Mm-hmm.
I play my trial game and I signed there. And from there, that's when the finish journey starts.
Yeah. Reed was asking, was Malenko the coach at Nordvarnum at that point?
Oh, dude, I couldn't even tell you. I have no clue. I couldn't remember the coaches then.
All right, so you get to Finland. You got $100 in your bank account. It's either make it on this team or work at a greenhouse or something.
Yeah, no kidding.
You signed with the club. What's your first experience playing in Finland and for this club, BK46?
Yeah, it was pretty interesting because I'm really grateful for the kind of the shit I had to put up with and being without some of the things, because I don't think I would have handled the situation I was in very well coming out of college. Like if I was just thrown from college as a 21-year-old into my situation, I think I would have handled it differently. So, the third tier of Finland, you have some players that are professional, some that are not. Like it's just how it is. So some people take it more seriously than others. Luckily we had a good team and we had some good players on it. So we did well in the league, but I would go to practice and sometimes there would be like 4 people there and there'd be no heads up. So it was just like at first I was like this, God, this sucks.
I think, which is also, it's funny because everyone in college is like, oh, I want to go pro, play somewhere. And you're like, wait a second, you don't know how good your facilities and stuff are in university.
Yes, but it's also, it kind of makes you a little soft. It makes you think you a bit better than you are, because that's how when I act like. I remember thinking how good I was. Like you weren't that great. You weren't even. This whole thing. Okay, so but then it was kind of like, okay, so what can I do? Like I have to get better. Like that's just straight up. I have to get better if I want to do the things that I want to do. So then it just became like, I would show up to training like hour and a half, 2 hours early, and I would just technical. On the days off, me and the guy that I lived with, just straight technique all the time, because it was an area I needed to improve on. So it was all passing, dribbling, all kinds of things, and it was like every day. We had a gym at the place we were staying at, and we would go in there and we would do small technical things in there as well. So, it was just putting in so much work in that year. And then the other big thing was I was getting a lot of playing time, which, I didn't have in my second year in St. Louis, at least not at center midfield, like week in, week out, consistent playing time. And it was also a way for me to get back, I hadn't lost games my entire life until I was a senior in college, basically. And then all of a sudden it had been like 3 years plus 3 years of losing, because there's 2 years in St. Louis we weren't doing good, and then plus a year where I didn't even play. So mentally my confidence was shot at this point. So it was also really good to get into a situation where, I was playing well and we were winning games, and I was starting to, my confidence started getting back up, and it was such an important year for me, both technically, but mentally. It was so massive that year for me. And even though maybe it wasn't a level that maybe my skills, maybe me as a player, I thought I could have been playing higher, but I don't think I would be as good of a player I am right now if I wasn't put into that situation.
Interesting.
Yes. So then from BK46, after that season, we were really fighting for promotion. It was really close. We almost got promoted. We ended up finishing third, but it was like, if we would have won the last game, we would have gone to a playoff.
Oh, wow.
Anyways, so then it's at the end of that, and, Division 2 ends a month, 6 weeks, something like that, before Division 1 ends. So our rival club, AIF, which is like 10 minutes away, was in Division 1. So I called Emil. I was like, yo, can you see if I can go train with them? He was like, yeah, for sure. So I go over there and I go train with them for the last week or so. And, I do my thing. I play well there. And then it was time to go back home to America. And so I come back and, because I played well, then it was kind of looking, I wanted to stay in Finland. I really loved the country. I loved the league. I thought I was improving as a player. So it was time this was going to be my battleground. This is where I was going to do my thing. This is where I was going to become a person, become the person I think I should be. So then it was where's the next step? So, there were talks like maybe I was going to be able to go on trials to some Veikkausliiga teams. My coach at the time said that he was going to hook me up with a trial for a top league team. Coach ends up getting fired, falls through. Things like that.
The classics.
Yeah, the same story everybody has basically. But then it was okay. It came down to two places I still needed to go on trial, basically. It was either I was going to Haka or AIF, which I was at before. I was like, okay. So I'm looking at the two places, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to Haka. This club seems awesome. Like, this seems like the place, like, they want to promote. They're a historic team, all these things. So tell Emil, I'm like, I want to go on trial at Haka instead of AIF. So he's like, okay. So a few days go by, and people aren't returning his calls. Like, after they said they wanted to bring me in, all of a sudden now they're not returning his calls. All these things. I'm like, what is happening? So then, 4 or 5 days, I'm like, screw this. Like, I can't be put in this situation again. Let's just go to AIF. So that ended up being such a blessing in disguise. Like, it was because, I went to AIF, and, it's not, it's been a Division 1 team for maybe 4 or 5 years, but it's not a really big time club, basically.
Right.
They were always, I think the highest they finished was the spot above relegation in Division 1.
Right.
So I showed up there, and I was a new player. There was a lot of new faces. There's a lot of turnover at that club, and it was a new coach. It was a new Spanish coach, and he was phenomenal. And I learned so much from him. I got so much better in that year. And our team did fantastic. With 5 games left, 6 games left, we were in first place. Yeah, we ended up finishing third. We choked down the stretch in the last 7, which, yeah, it sucked. It really sucked at the time, but at the same, it was it was another learning experience, which I took into account for the season I had last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then after AIF, after that season, then it was, where am I going to go next, basically. And AIF was good. It was a great club, and I learned a lot there. But one thing, I wanted to go to a place that, we celebrated getting third place, big time. We were so pumped about getting third, which is really great for that club. But that's not what I wanted. I wanted to go to a place that if we finished third, we would be pissed. I wanted to finish first. I wanted to get promoted.
The Indiana mindset.
Yeah, but I thought, I deserved and wanted to be a league player. That's why I came to Finland, was to get into the top division. So, I get done. I had a great season at AIF. I thought for sure a top league team would take me in again. But it didn't. And it is what it is. But then Haka came and, offered me a contract. They got a new coach. He really liked me. And he was, he's a Finnish legend. He's such a good coach. Teemu Tainio. Obviously, you'd be familiar with the name. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But for those that don't, he's an ex-Tottenham player, Ajax. He jumps into our practice and he's still sick as hell. But he rated me as a player, and it was a place that I thought would help me out, and it was a place that they really wanted to promote. So I signed there, and last season was incredible. we crushed the league essentially. We didn't lose a game until we won the league with like 6 games left or something like that. We won 15 straight games.
Yeah, you guys were on fire.
Yeah, we were killing people. Yeah, it was a good season. And then, I've also been lucky where the last, after 6 weeks, 2 months or whatever, they did the captains and I got selected as the captain here. Also at AIF, I was initially the 3rd choice captain, but then essentially I ended up being the captain for the team there as well. So now I've had 2 years of being the captain for professional sides, where that's another thing where, if things didn't work out the way they did, I wouldn't have that experience as well. But, now how the things are rolling, we got promoted. Now with the coronavirus, it makes things tricky, but hopefully, it'll be really cool to, where I started out in Finland, and where I was at like right before coming over to Finland, and then being able to lead a team out, as a captain in the top league, like that's incredible. Like that's
unreal.
Like it's such a I don't know how to explain it exactly, but it's like, yeah, I thought I was good enough to do it. I always believed in myself that I could do something like this, but now that I'm pulling it off, and I think there's still so much more room for me to go up. Like it's really good. It's a good feeling and it's a good situation to be in.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good reminder because when you're living basically out of your car with no one, giving a call back to even give you a trial with any team, and these, you look back at these 3rd or 2nd division, 3rd tier clubs that were saying no to you, and now if you could almost like, if they could be reminded that they let you through their hands, and just like it's got to feel rewarding that the hard work, the perseverance and the commitment to continuing to work when things weren't going well, it's got to be rewarding for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I'm a bit like, it's not, it's not maybe my best trait, but it's kind of got me along in some ways where I'm pretty spiteful. Like I'll, if someone didn't select me for something or something, I take it really personally and I take it to heart, and it's more of like, all right, I'll show you. We'll see what's up in a little bit. Kind of one
I like it.
So, that was definitely a driving thing where it was like, okay, like these guys didn't want to take me. Let's see a little bit. Let's see if they should have taken me. Let's see.
I like it. Speaking of that now, it's a good segue. We're going to have you name your Bridges 5-a-side team with no MLS players. See if anyone else will be angry they weren't chosen by you and make a point.
I've been keeping an eye on these 5-a-side teams. I got some people to crack when I get back. Give them a little reminder.
Listen, some of these teams, I'm not sure if they'll ever make a good coach or manager with the decision making.
Okay, so definitely number 1, and everyone's picked this, but I'm riding it. Jeff Gall in goal, for sure. Like his feet are so good, and he's perfect for that style of play where he's such a good shot stopper and all those things. Big advantage having him. In the back, you definitely got to have Toch back there. He's a professional indoor player, so it's a big strength there. He's a winner. He's shown that at Louisville. And that shows up when you go play at Bridges as well. If I'm moving up I'll go back to the back. I still have to think about that second back. If I'm going up to the midfield, I'm throwing myself in there. And, I know you're saying no MLS players, but I really want to put Chris Mueller in there, man. I think you should be able to let me throw him in for this one. I love playing with him. I love his mentality. He's there every day. He's pretty interesting because the first couple times I met him, I wasn't so sure. The first couple times I played with him, I wasn't so sure about him. But then after playing for him a little bit, I'm like, okay, this guy's about it. I like this guy. I like this guy. I love his mentality. That guy grinds. That he's humble and all that stuff. Great player.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm putting him in the midfield. I'm not letting you have him. Up top, you got to have Woj. I mean, he's a killer. He's a killer up there. Great big body to throw it up there too. And then the last person in the back, maybe David Abador would be a good one. But I'm thinking Reed.
Okay.
See, thing about Reed, he tries his ass off every single time, which is a big thing. That plays a big thing when you're playing over at Bridges. Next thing is he can hit some bangers too. So coming out from the back when you got the long shots there, you can count him for a few goals a day, and he's not gonna let off defensively. So I think that's my 5 right there.
I mean, that's 5 that can all score and all work hard. So that's my solid team.
That's the biggest game changer, is the guys who will work hard on those things.
Yeah, in man-to-man marking.
Oh man, you can't. Yeah, I mean it is man marking, I guess.
So you got to have guys that work hard.
Yeah, no doubt.
Talking about your career, how do you continue to find ways to improve? You've obviously had a lot of success. You've continued to improve. It's shown by continuing to climb the ladder. How every year do you kind of motivate yourself and find different ways to grow your game?
Yeah, I think over the past 5-6 years, I think I've taken a big step on how I do things just mentally, I had that down period after college, and I don't want to go back. I can't go back. I'm not going to let that happen. So now it's all about you got to be really honest with yourself and the things you're lacking, but also the things you're good at and how you can improve those things. So it's always just, looking at little things. So for example, I'll watch a lot of games and I'll see a lot of this certain cross that a lot of center midfielders do, where it's kind of like in a half space, that's producing a lot of goals from a lot of players. Jordan Henderson does it great. So I've just been working on that. Boom, boom, mad repetitions the past, especially since this coronavirus thing. It's been the perfect time to do it. Can't even tell you how many times I've hit that cross. So now I'm thinking this season, hey, I might get an assist or 2 off that, and that could be the difference on whatever place it's going to be. So it's kind of like that. So just being really...
Yeah, I like that. I like to... We've been kind of calling it a separation season right now.
Yes.
The ability... It's the first time players kind of have to take full ownership on themselves to if they're going to improve or if they're going to just waste the time. So I like to hear that you're working on something that, realistically, might only happen a handful of times in the season, but you're doing that, and that might be the difference between, the points you need at the end of the year or not.
Exactly. And I think it's just, it's a tough time, and it's really hard for, I think, a lot of people to stay motivated kind of. And there's ups and downs. I mean, even with me, there'll be some days where it's just you're feeling down, when is the season going to start? When is this going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the work's not going to stop, basically. No matter what my feelings are for the day, it's just, all right, I'm still going to get the work in. I'm still doing it. It's not a, if this happens, it's just you tell yourself, you're doing it.
It's not an option.
Not an option. No, you're doing it whether you like it or not, basically. So you might as well just want to do it.
I like it. I like that. Non-negotiable.
Exactly.
If you could look back talking to yourself when you're 15 years old, what would you tell yourself?
15 years old. It's kind of, that's tricky because it's to a certain extent, I kind of want to, because the thing is, in the system that it was in America, you're only really playing against people that are your age, essentially.
Yeah.
So the thing is, I was always a really good player. growing up, and all for my club team, I was always one of the better players, so I had a lot of confidence and all that kind of stuff. So I think it would be nice, like if I could look back, it would be nice to be like, hey, dude, you're really good, but you still have a lot of work to put in. You need to improve in some of these areas. But I think it would be really hard because, I think in Europe, maybe I would have been thrown into a first team training and I would have got my ass kicked.
Yeah.
And then, oh, okay. I need to do these things, but I didn't have that experience really. So, it would have been tough. Would I have listened to someone telling me that? I don't know. Because I've always been something where it's, you do something, it doesn't work out. All right, now let's fix it. That's kind of where I've always been able to find my improvements on.
Yeah. No, and that's something I really enjoy about the European system is you have players that are talented and show promise that are 16, but you get to throw them in a first team session or something and humble them a little bit,
Exactly. Like I would have loved for when I'm 16, 17 to actually get thrown into a first team, just get smacked for a practice for like an entire week and just be like, damn, okay, in the way some of these guys hit a ball and all those things, like it would have changed my game a lot.
Go into a tackle with a 30-year-old with his strength. It's a different thing.
I probably wouldn't have been winning as many tackles as I was.
Hey man, I appreciate you doing this, taking your time. Excited to see you be able to lead your team out for the first time in the top league. That's obviously a huge accomplishment to you. Proud of you for that. Much respect for your grind and your ability to move up. Any final words you want to say, or did we cover everything?
Nah, I think we covered it, and just anybody who's a younger player watching and all those things, like you're gonna have shitty times. Like it's not gonna be all uphill and all those things, and it's just about trying to keep a level head and just keep bouncing back. And eventually, if you just keep doing the right things, eventually things work out. And it may not be the way that you thought they were gonna work out and the way you planned them to work out. But if you keep doing the right things day after day, eventually something good comes out.
Love that. All right, man. Thank you. Appreciate it. Stay safe.
Yeah, stay safe. Hopefully the season gets going soon.
I hope so. All right. Take care, man.
See you, man.
Bye.